Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for a card today. I've got this cute little Operation Right Home set by Hero Arts called Lil Hoot. I'm going to be using the elephants. I've also got a My Favorite Things stencil called On the Diagonal. And I've got this other set by Simon Says Stamp called Sketchy Banner Greetings. So I'm going to be using this long one at the bottom, and it has some matching dies and then just some square dies. These are by Spellbinders. Now the first thing I'm going to do is take my Crumb Cake cardstock by Stampin' Up, and I'm going to tape it with some surgical tape, tape the back to this stencil so that way I get full coverage on my cardstock. I'm going to use some Color Box white pigment ink. You can use any pigment ink, any white pigment ink. And I'm going to take a sponge dauber and I'm just going to color each of these little tiny areas. So it does take a little bit of time to do this. I'm going to do it carefully so that my stencil doesn't move. And I'm going to use kind of a twisting motion a little bit with my hand to get this pigment ink in there. And I'm going to make sure that I get a really good even coverage and there aren't any thick spots. And when I'm finished with that, I'm just going to take off my stencil and I'm going to let that air dry for a little while. Now while that's drying, I'm going to take my elephants and use my Misty. And it really does, I just wanted it in the center of that 4x4 piece of Nina Solar White cardstock. I'm going to take some Memento Tuxedo Black ink and I'm going to stamp off twice. So there's once, twice, and then I'll stamp it on my cardstock. I just didn't want any really dark black lines because I'm going to be using some Copic markers. So for the elephants, I'm using C1, 4, and 6, and I'm just going to kind of rotate between all of these and color in this cute little elephant set. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn up the music and you can watch the coloring for a little bit. Now that I'm finished with the coloring, I decided I wanted the eyes to be a little darker. So because I left my elephant stamp on my Misty, I'm going to be able to stamp it again in the same exact location. So I'm taking a Stampin' Up! Marker and I'm going to color the eyes black, because with the Stampin' Up! Markers, I'm huffing on it right now, so just kind of breathe some hot air. With the Stampin' Up! Markers, you can color on the backs of stamps, huff on it to reactivate the ink, and then it'll stamp. So you can see how the eyes came out a lot darker. So that worked out great. All right, now I'm going to put this stencil back on now that my crumb cake piece is dry, and I left the surgical tape on the side so that I could just place it right on there. And the first thing I'm going to do is take some crushed olive distress ink in my sponge dauber, and I'm just going to apply this ink to where each of the diagonal lines meet in the middle. And I'm going to leave white in between each of the bars, like in the center of each of the bars. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing, except I'm going to use some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So I'm kind of putting the black right on top of the green, but I'm not going to go as far up the blocks as I did with the green, so I'll get a little hint of green in addition to having that black. So I really like the way this turned out, just something a little bit different. Alright, now I'm going to take a square. I'm taking the third square in, and I realized that I needed to trim the bottom section of that cardstock out. So I'm going to go trim that, and that way I know where I'm putting my square here. And I'm just going to kind of center it a little bit up more toward the top, and just measure it to make sure that my elephants are going to look good right there. Now I'm going to add some grass. I'm using G99 and G82, and I'm just going to kind of flick it upwards. So I'm always starting at the bottom and flicking up. And I'm going to do the dark first and kind of space them out a little bit, and then I'm just more filling in with the G82. I'm going to measure it, and I'm going to put my banner right there, just make sure I get it all the way across. I just needed to add a little bit more to the edge there to finish it off. Alright, now I wanted to stamp my greeting and the banner. So I'm going to use my Stamp-A-Majig sheet, ink up my banner stamp, and then I'll stamp it to my Stamp-A-Majig sheet. I'll take some adhesive and place this onto a piece of scratch paper, and I'll use that to measure underneath the Stamp-A-Majig sheet so that it goes right under where it's going to be stamped perfectly. I'll re-ink it, and then I stamp it, and it comes out perfectly. And I do this in my Misty review if you want to go watch that video. And now I'm going to line up my sentiment on that banner, and notice it didn't even move. This foam sort of keeps things in place, keeps the cardstock in place so it doesn't move around a little bit. Plus I had a little bit of that adhesive left over. So once I've got that stamped, I'm going to take some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to pop that frame up on top of the elephants. And then I'll take my banner, and I'm cutting a couple of small pieces of these dimensionals for where the banner is going to go over the elephant panel so that it also pops up. And then just a little bit of two-way glue pen to make sure it adheres to the crumb cake piece. I get that all stuck. And then I'm going to take some ATG to put some adhesive on the flat piece, a little bit more to pop it up on the top because I had covered it up with that elephant panel, and place it right there in the center. Now just for a little bit more detail, I took my heart confetti punch, which I love this punch. I'm using it a lot. And in one punch, it punches out all these little cute hearts of different sizes. And I've got my Pick Me Up stick, which I do use a lot as well. And I'm going to place these down, kind of coming up from the side onto both panels, and just kind of place them so I know where I'm going to be putting them. And then one at a time, I'll pull it off with my pickup stick, take my two-way glue pen, and then dot where I had just removed that heart. And this piece that I'm holding with my left hand comes with the Pick Me Up stick, and it allows you to kind of push down on the heart so that you can get it off the Pick Me Up stick, because it is going to be sticky on there. So again, just pulling off my heart, putting down my two-way glue. I find that it's easier to put the glue on the receiving end, the receiving cardstock, and then just place my heart there. I'm going to do this all the way up until I get to the last one at the top. And that's it, the card for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's all kind of in the spirit of the stencils for the challenge this week. And if you haven't, please consider entering, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.